Okay.
Hi, it is day
9 and it's 17 minutes past 5 in the afternoon.
And it's Jane and Ian. And we kicked off with The Court.
And this was my choice, I think. Oh no, it wasn't, it was your choice.
But you might have looked at it independently.
Well, yeah.
So, this in the programme said, this courtroom drama, it's drama, new writing. This courtroom drama centres around the question of euthanasia. Did Cathy murder her mother or merely stop her suffering? This interactive production gets you questioning your beliefs. Become a juror, but can you determine the truth?
And I actually did sit as a juror. Janie chose not to. So there was 9 of us on the jury, and it was quite a full house, wasn't it?
I think it was full.
Yeah.
Apart from one seat by me for latecomers, but
really?
it was full.
Yeah, and this was at the Hill Street Theatre, which is over on, believe it or not, on Hill Street. What did you think?
Well, I mean, it did what it said on the tin, really, in one sense, but it was done in a very quite sort of serious way, because there was a judge in wig and gown, there were a prosecutor and a defence counsel, and obviously the person that was
defendant, the defendant and the accuser. They were sisters.
And there was also the clerk of the court, who gave us very sort of clear, strict instructions.
It was quite funny though as well, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there was. It's not. Yeah. So it wasn't, but it was done. It was no nonsense. That's.
Yeah, there was a funny bit actually right at the beginning, because sorry to interrupt, but where we all would, when the judge came in, we were all asked to stand up.
Yeah,
and we all.
Going to talk about that, but never mind. It's all right.
We all stood up apart from 2 people, and the clerk of the court actually went over to them because they were on the front row and said, "This is a serious court. Please stand up." Didn't he?
Yeah, he asked them to respect the judge, which was, in one sense, it was a bit weird, because you're thinking this is actually a theatre, but. It did. I think if they hadn't done that, it focused the mind doing that. So it followed. I have been in a court a long time ago. So, but it followed. You had the prosecuting counsel giving their spiel, and vice versa. And both the accuser and the defendant were interviewed twice, obviously on the stand, and then they went out, and the clerk of the court gave the jurors strict instructions about what
we could ask them questions, which is obviously not on a normal court of law, but then they came back individually. I mean I had a question prepared, but actually a lady behind me asked the same question, but was actually a bit more succinct than I was, so I never asked a question. But they were both given 5 minutes to cross-examine the defendant and the accuser. And actually, slightly just before that, he did also ask the clerk of the court, asked the audience.
He asked the jurors as it stood.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
What would they, vote for? And then he asked the audience. And then after the process that Ian's just described, he asked again, and it was at that point that they took what the jurors' verdict, it was a majority decision, and that was then fed back by to the judge. It was interesting because when he was sort of asking, he asked out of interest, were there any lawyers in the audience? And there was at least 2. And I would have been interested for them to be allowed to just give just say what they thought. But obviously, it wasn't a proper court of law. But it would have been interesting to see what they'd said. But anyway,
because I was sat in the front row of the jury, and there was 11 jurors, not 9. Apologies for that. how many people the first time round said that he was guilty? There was only two choices. It was guilty of murder or guilty of manslaughter with the extenuating circumstances. So fundamentally, it was a mercy killing. How many people said that she was guilty of murder and the jury the first time? Because I couldn't see.
Three, I think.
Three.
It was.
So some people sat on the fence and didn't.
And were told they couldn't
sit on the fence. I went for manslaughter.
Yeah. So the first time round, it was a majority of jurors
for manslaughter. Right.
And equally in the
audience. Yeah.
Now, we're not giving anything away because
it was different next time.
Each time it's different. Yeah. So it depends on the group of people. So on the second vote, the jurors basically changed their minds. So the majority was now for murder. And I couldn't see what the audience went for, but
the audience went for manslaughter.
But I think it was less of a majority than it had been.
There was more people were swayed. I didn't change my opinion because I didn't think there was enough evidence for murder, if I'm honest. But I was obviously in the majority, and she was found guilty. But next time it'll be completely different. Yeah.
They'll ask different questions, but it was a good piece of theatre.
Cast were great,
and.
I mean, Cathy. Did you see Cathy at the beginning? And when she was on the stand, she was actually shaking.
Yes, I did.
She was.
I did. Now, whether or not that was part of
I think that's part of the theatre.
The act.
Yeah, I do.
And I think the way the accuser is dressed, I think, is for theatre.
Yeah.
So there were lots of little things that came out. And you were thoroughly engaged.
Yeah, exactly, for the whole hour.
And it was quite...
was it an hour, 50 minutes?
50 minutes?
50 minutes.
No, hang on a minute. I think
it's an hour. It's a full hour.
Yeah, it is a full hour.
Yeah.
So, and they were very good with timing. So the fact is that when they do the extra questions from the jury to the defendant and the accuser, they have a strict 5 minutes each. Yeah. So you have 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes spent on the voting. It was good fun.
It was really good fun. Yeah, I mean it's
a really serious subject, though. I mean, and the clerk of the court did say. I mean, I've obviously read out what the subject matter is, and I'm assuming that
it's the same every time because somebody.
Well, I know that. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I'm assuming that people won't go if they know they'll find it upsetting, because obviously there's some detail.
Yeah.
But they do cover that. They say that you may find some of the subject matter upsetting. But I think nobody. But
it is done for entertainment, and there are a few laughs in there, although it's a serious subject. So it is. I think it's tastefully done. I would describe it.
Because they don't make a mockery of the subject in any way. But it's an interesting exercise in what people base their decisions on, and what might make them change their decisions. It was interesting.
And I have been a juror, although it was when I was in my late teens. I actually would have. I mean, it's a piece of theatre. It's an hour. You can't do this. I wondered whether we were going to be asked to, in front of the whole audience, to discuss the case.
I did wonder.
Yeah, and I sort of hoped we would, but we didn't. And I think that's about timings as much as anything.
I think they have to be very strict because
very much so.
People would want to talk about it, and rightly so. I mean, there's a lot of
and we did spend quite a bit of time getting questions from the jury and also questions from the audience, and we were asked as jurors to actually bring some of those questions but there wasn't enough time. But it was great. It was really, really entertaining and really, really good. How many stars?
I think purely as a piece of theatre, and obviously there are some people who won't want to see it because of the subject matter. I mean, I think a 4.
Okay, yeah, no, I'd go with the 4 as well.
Yeah.
No, it was good fun. And it's on every day until the end of the Fringe, till the 27th, because some shows obviously finish on the 26th. It's on at 12 o'clock until lunchtime every day in Hill Street Theatre. And the price is, if I just pick a day, £15 full price, £12 concession. Really, really good show. If that sounds like your sort of thing. There was a good demographic in terms of the audience.
Yes, it was. And also the jury, it was interesting. I mean, as you walked in, you were asked if you wanted to be a juror. You didn't. I did. I thought one of us should be. and actually it gave. I thought about it. I mean, it gave a different perspective for us, because obviously Ian was one of the jurors, and we didn't know what that entailed, but at the time, and we were one of the first in. So I think at that point there were 3 men. And I must say that had it looked as though it was going to be all men male, or a majority, I would have stepped forward. Yeah. But then I think after you said yes, 3 ladies went forward, and then there was another man at least. Anyway, it was quite a good cross section, and of ages as well. Yeah.
Good show.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next show is a piece of. Well, I was going to say puppetry, but actually...
No, well, we'll discuss it when we get there, but...
So, we'll see you in the next video. So, thanks very much. See you later. Bye-bye.